So here we are over on the Mac, and we're going to look at a couple HTML emails that have come in. We're going to look at on the Mac and then go over to Windows after that, so you can really see the difference. And the key concept in all of this, you don't have direct control over what the email looks like when people read it. And a secondary concept, you have some more control than you might realize over how your email looks when you read it. So let's see what I mean. We're in Apple Mail, and here's a picture with my son Charlie. He's very proud of the city that he's built here, and it's this huge picture here in Mac Mail. And there's some words as well that have been put in, and Jenny has used some colors and some formatting in order to make the message kind of stand out from normal text. This is done with HTML. The same code that generates web pages is generating this email right now. Now, if I double-click the email and open it up in a new window, this is a Mac Mail thing, you'll see suddenly the picture looks a different size. And as I resize it, Mail will actually resize the picture so that it looks different depending on how big a window I made. But nonetheless, the type shows up and the picture shows up in line. If I switch over to Entourage for a moment, here's the same message. You can see that in Entourage, it shows up at the size of the original image. So it has been changed slightly. And by the way, this is kind of an aside, but you're going to see this message in Entourage. Entourage tells you whether the message has been copied from the server or whether it's still there. I'm juggling 3 email programs here in order to make these movies, so I have to actually leave my messages on the server so that I can access them from 3 different email clients. So you'll just have to, if you don't normally see this message on here, on your Entourage, that's because you normally download these messages and you don't get that message up there. I'll talk about how that happens a little later when we go to configuring multiple email accounts. I'll actually show you how that happens. But as an aside, you can see that the message looks different here than it did over in Mail, but the picture still appears in the message. I'm going to switch back to Mail for a moment, and you may see me doing this through Command-Tab right here a little bit later, just it's a faster way to do it since we're going to be switching a lot. I'm going to close that message. I'm going to look at a message from lynda.com. And now you can see that I got this warning in Mac Mail saying this message contains unloaded images. And here is the HTML newsletter. And you can see there's some images that seem to have come along, and there's some images that have not. What's the deal with that? I'm going to actually double-click, open it up into its own window so it's a little easier to see maybe. We'll make it a little bit longer. Windows fingers are trying to switch by the keyboard here. There we go. We'll switch through the window menu. The reason that this image has not loaded is because there is a technique out there in junk mail and spam mail to find out if there is a real email address by sending out a message and having the recipient load an image, a small image, when they open it up. Somebody opened it up. This must be a real email address. Let me send lots of spam there. So as a protection, the automatic loading of images from the internet has been turned off, but you can manually load them by simply clicking the button to load them. And if I close that window, unloaded images, I can load them there. And now the interesting thing is I can switch back and forth, and you can see that the load is gone. Mail is remembering that I need to load that image. And depending on how the HTML email is set up, there may be several images. Here's one from Microsoft, and you can see that there are lots and lots of images that have not loaded. Well, I can go ahead and click the button to load those images, and suddenly the email looks a lot different. Now, one of the interesting things is that the email itself still shows up as HTML, and it still looks relatively correct in Mail. Let's go over to Entourage, and we'll look at those same messages. If we can find them. Here we go. They got put down here in Entourage for some reason. Okay. Here we have the same kind of thing, but now you can see how different the email looks than it did before. Very different, and we've sort of messed with some of the alignment of things because we didn't download the pictures. But again, you can click a button to download the pictures, and things have changed. There's the image with the picture. Same thing for the Microsoft one. We can download the pictures, and it'll wrap back around. Sometimes you actually get the HTML showing up a little bit differently in the two different situations. You can't automatically have it download all the pictures for you, just because, and you wouldn't want to, because it is something that is kind of a safety feature. You can, however, when we get to the junk mail filter, do at least some control. Let's go over to Windows, and we'll look at Outlook, and you'll get to see how this is done in Outlook, and there are actually a lot more options and a lot worse display of HTML before all those images load.